नमो खण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्ति पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदं मन्त्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोर्कृपां ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वदा साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं स्मरामि सद्गुरुं तं भजामि। Good evening. Welcome to our daily recitation of the Gita and discussion. We were on the 29th shlok of the 4th chapter, Gyan Yog. And the 29th shlok is describing the process of pranayam and how does it lead to eventual stoppage of external breathing. Prana-pan gati ruddhva. Ruddhva means to block. Pran and apan is exhalation, inhalation, to stop. And then to burn the need to breathe into the Mukhya Prana, that is Kundalini Shakti, which resides at the bottom of the spine. Then how do you survive? You survive by breathing through the Sushumna, which connects your vital areas including your navel, your Agya Chakra and your Sahasrar or Brahmarandra with all the chakras, including the 5 chakras and the Agya Chakra where Krishna stays. So this we have read partly because it's a long explanation. So we will move on from where we left. I think we read Sanyal Baba's 2 poems before and after. Will you please confirm? প্রাণের চাঞ্চল্য তব বুদ্ধি হয় বিকম্পিত তাহাতে নানাত্ব দেখে তাতে হব চমকিত. I think we covered that, yes. Fine. So we move on from there. We have read this also. Marute madhya sanchare manasthairyam prajayate yo mana susthiri bhava saivavastha manonmani. That mano mani avastha, unmani bhav jetake bole, the state of the man where it does not function at all is unmani bhav. Unmani bhav is non-functional man. When you reach that bhav, then you get access through the Sushumna channel, because you have to block the external breathing channels, the Ida and the Pingla. So when they stop, you breathe through your navel, and it is connected to the Sushumna. It goes all the way up to here. What does that do? What does the stoppage of the pran kriya or the breathing process do? Unless you are able to stop the external breathing, you will never be able to find the Kul Kundalini. And one of the principal objectives of sadhan kriya yoga is to take the Kula Kundalini back up through the Sushumna channel all the way up to the Agya Chakra and beyond into the Sahasrara, or the 1,000-petal lotus, which is where Param Shiv lives. So Kula Kundalini then meets with Param Shiv. This is called Ardhanarishwar. Then the Purush is complete, so is the Nari. The Shakti is complete, so is the Purush. And that is the objective. This stoppage of the pran in its tracks, external breathing, when I say pran, I mean external breathing, removes the man from the battlefield. It removes by removing the man, it disconnects the indriyas with the rest of the bodies. Your sensory organs are now no more feeding you junk food of the outside world. This is like the fire heating of the metal to a melting point, and thereby removing the slag included in the metal, whether it is gold or silver or iron or steel. All of them have some slag, some inclusions, non-metallic inclusions. Because of the difference in the melting temperature and the difference in the viscosity, they move out of the main metal. This is like that, and that purifies the metal. न होमम होम इत्याहु समाधौ तत्तु भूयते ब्रह्माग्नो हूयते प्राणम होम कर्म तदुच्यते. When the breath goes out and doesn't return, or when it goes to the apanvayu, samanvayu, and then doesn't come out, this is the stoppage of breathing. This is what we are achieving in this shloka, trying to achieve. As long as the flow is natural and continuous, the man and the buddhi together are busy in the research of material pleasure. When this stops, then the man and the buddhi and the gates through which they come, the stimulation comes, that is the indriyas, the sensory organs, then stop functioning. These external channels of breathing make you aware of the world, and thereby you are diverted to the material world and its pleasures. However, when you stop that, then your buddhi or your perception is redirected towards the Almighty Formless One, to the exclusion of the outside world, because now you are not able to perceive that. You could perceive that because of the external breathing only. And thereby your tensions, worries, etc. all turn into joy. How? When you are close to the Lord, it is a natural phenomenon. It is described in this way. If you go to the ocean on the beach, you get a natural cooling breeze, sea breeze. When you go away from that into a desert, you will feel very hot, very thirsty, very dry. You have just chosen your venue. Similarly, if you choose the world as your venue, you are beginning your journey of torment. On the other hand, if you choose your journey inwards into your soul, then you are choosing your journey of joy, bliss, and peace. There is a famous peat or place of worship or an establishment called Goraksh Mandir. This is located in Gorakhpur and was started by Swami Gorakshanand. And the present top man is Yogi Adityanath. This Maharshi Goraksh was the original guru of a very famous set of kings. We all know about Vikramaditya. He was in nearly about the year 1000. So about 1024 years from now, estimated. His predecessor was a king called Raja Bhartrihari. Raja Bhartrihari has written 3 books. One is when he was young and married to a very beautiful queen, he wrote the book Saundarya Shatak. It is consisting of 100 pages, like a century. Tendulkar hits 1 century, 2nd century, 3rd century. So all of these are called Shataks. First is Saundarya Shatak. Second is Niti Shatak. When he ascended the throne and started thinking about how to govern his state and how to bring it up to a very prominent position in the League of Nations. And he did a wonderful job. Then, towards the middle of his life, when he had been king for some time, he found out that his queen was unfaithful. And then he went to Maharshi Gorakhnath and assumed sannyas and gave up his kingdom to Raja Vikramaditya, who was his stepbrother, younger stepbrother. And after that, we have heard stories about Vikramaditya and the Bikram and Betal and this and that. So many stories we have heard. In early 60s, when I was 5 to 8 years of age, there was a Guruji who used to come to my house. He was Arya Samaji. He was brought in by my grandfather in the year 1935 to our house. He used to sing the passages from Vairagya Shatak. And all I remembered was Sukheva, Dukheva, etc. Some of the very few words I remembered, but I remembered the tune. I'm a little musically inclined, so I remembered the tune. This was the tune. And suddenly I looked for the descendants of Guruji. Guruji died in 68. He had a few nephews and some other relatives. They were all living in Dhanbad only. So I searched them out where they were and I tried to find out where this tune and the words and where they are derived from, who has written this, etc., etc. So my research did not yield any result. So coincidentally, I was in Mandar. I was with some of these Sanskrit scholars in Mandar. One of them is a chap called Vagish ji. He is the professor of English, Sanskrit literature. And he was sitting right next to me, and suddenly in the mandir, you can hear it from where I normally stay. The mandir is probably 100 yards. So I could hear the small priests under training sing a hymn to Shiva. And the tune was the same which I just told you about. And I asked this Sanskrit professor, I said, do you know what this is? He said, of course. This is so and so. I said, can you find out where I can get it? What are the words? What are the meanings? He said, it is Vairagya Shatak, but let me find out. Next morning he rang me up and he said, Bhaiya, mil gaya. I said, kya mil gaya? Kaun hai aap? He told me, I am Vagish. Kal baat hui thi. I found your passage. I said, fine, I will get up from sadhan at around 12:31. You kindly meet me again this afternoon after 3. So he came at 3 and he had written it down, and it's a beautiful piece of composition. One of the passages is, and it is in the Shikharni Chand. Chand is like English poems, they are written in meter. You know, they are called meter. Here it is called Chand. We have the Gayatri Chand, we have the Anushtup Chand, we have the Shikharni Chand, we have so many. There are about 30 plus kinds of meter. So this gentleman came and brought me the words, and I said, please explain. It goes like this. Achha, by the way, this is also in the Chandi. The Dev Aparadh Shamapan Stotram, written by our Shankaracharya ji, is written in Shikharni Chand. Namo Chasya Kangsha, etc. So this written by our friend, what's his name? Bhartrihari, was the following. Ahau Ahareva Balapati Ripauva Suhridava. Whether I have a dead snake around me like a garland, or I have a Naulakha har, a very costly necklace, whether there is a Suhrid, a person who is very close to my heart, sitting across me, or it is a very powerful enemy sitting across me, whether I get a bed of rocks to sleep on, or whether I get a bed of flowers to sleep on, whether I am in the forest or in the Tirthasthan, O Lord, O my Maker, please make me always chant the words Shiva, 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 Shiva. That is one stanza. And it is so beautiful. I got the book ordered on the net and I have it somewhere in Dhanbad. That was a long time back. This is about 10 years ago. Okay, so Bhartrihari. Bhartrihari, very much disillusioned by his wife's betrayal, took sannyas from Maharshi Gorakshnath. And he went into the forest and he did sadhan. And there is a Bhartrihari cave near Gorakhpur, which is a tourist spot now. And this is where he stayed, and this is where he did sadhan, and then he passed on. He left the empire to his stepbrother, younger stepbrother, Vikramaditya. That's the whole story. So what I'm trying to say is, Baba Gorakhnath wrote this passage for people who are fake gurus. What did he say? यावन्नैव प्रविशति चरणमार्तो मध्यमार्गे यावद्विन्दुर्न भवति दृढप्राणवात् प्रबन्धनात् यावद् ध्यानं सहज सदृशं जायते नैव तत्त्वं तावज् ज्ञानं वदति तदिदं दम्भ मिथ्या प्रलाप. As long as your breathing is not through Sushumna, Madhya Marga is central passage of air. As long as due to heavy practice of pranayam, you do not see the bindu and it is not steady. Bindu sometimes comes and sometimes goes for sadhaks who are moving on in practice. It has to be steadied, it has to be constant, it has to be in one place, not moving. So, that can only come with the stoppage of external breathing. We are discussing stoppage of external breathing and breathing through Sushumna. That is why this has been quoted by Sanyal Maharshi. जब तक ध्यान के द्वारा तत्व समूह का साक्षात्कार नहीं होता, when you stop external breathing, you breathe through the Sushumna, you are in deep concentration, then you can see the 5 elements. Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kham. Bhumi is earth, water, fire, air and space. Akash. Until you meet these 3 qualifications, your pranavayu is through the Sushumna, your bindu is steady, you are able to see all the 5 elements, actually see them, envision them. Till that time, there is no point in talking about Gyan or distributing Gyan to others. That is all a false pretense. It doesn't get you anywhere. This is what Baba Gorakhnath said 1000 years back. तपस्या तीर्थ यात्राद्या समदान व्रतादय प्राणायामस्य तस्यैव कलाम नारहन्ति षोडशीम्. My brother, who was an MP, he died in 2008. He received my Gurudev's Kripa in I think 2000 only. He was lucky. So he asked me a question. I distribute free, I make free distribution of clothes, grains, food, etc. Why do I need to do Kriya? Here is the answer. Tapasya Tirtha Yatradya, when you are doing Tapasya or you are doing Tirtha Yatra, pilgrimage, Samadana Vratadaya, or you are doing Dan, donations, and other vrats. Vrat is like, upvas. Pranayamasya tasyeva. All of these combined together are not even 1/16th as powerful as punya giving as pranayam. Here is the answer. Chittadi sarvabhaveshu brahmatvainaiva bhavanat nirodha sarvavrittinam pranayam sa uchyate. Your chit, your man. Baba once explained chit and man, the difference, in a very beautiful manner. He said man is the kitchen and chit is the storehouse. Whatever you cook in the kitchen, you store when not in use in the storehouse. You get a stimuli and you remember, oh, that is stored in my chit, and then it comes out and dances around you and takes you in a different direction. So this is how chit and man are interconnected. So he says, your chit will develop different emotions, different wants, different desires at different times. But if you immerse your chit into Brahma Bhav, thinking of God, and thereby block your tendencies, vrittis tendencies, that can be only done with pranayam. But it is not a very easy process. especially in the beginning. Then he says another shlok has been mentioned. Let me read that as well. Manasam vachikam papam kai kanchapi yatkritam tatsarvam nirdihet shigram pranayam trayena vai tapasya titha yatradya samadana vrutadya pranayamasya tasyeva kalam narahanti shodisam pranayam para sarve pranayam parayana pranayam mair Vai Shuddha ye to yanti paramam gatim. These two have been read earlier already. Just we read. Last one is pranayam para sarve pranayam parayana. Those who are all the time inclined to do pranayam as many times as often as possible. Such people clean their man and their chit. The kitchen is denuded of all the lovely goodies that your man has cooked and stored there. And thus your chakras, your breathing channels are purified and you achieve Paramagati. Paramagati is merging with the formless one. He who studies the scriptures, the holy books, Ved, Puran, Upanishad, and yet does not do any pranayam, does not do any kriya yoga, such a person will not achieve real knowledge, wisdom, or jnana. On the other hand, he who does not study the Shastra, the holy books, the scriptures, etc., yet diligently does sadhana abhyas, he will be able to achieve dhyana nishtha. He will be able to concentrate, get into dhyana avastha. उपाय विशेष के द्वारा उपान वायु को मूलाधार से मस्तक पर्यंत आकर्षण और प्राण वायु को मूलाधार पर्यंत विसर्जन रूप क्रिया का अभ्यास करते करते प्राण और अपान एकत्र मिलकर मस्तक में स्थिर हो जाते हैं. Again, Sanyal Mahasaya is describing the process of blocking the external breathing. He says it will come anayas, that means without your concentrating on how to stop it. It will be stopped by your continuous practice of pranayam only. Diligent practice of pranayam. This is called mixing of Chandra Nadi with Surya Nadi, and Sushumna also mixes with them. I think I read this yesterday, but doesn't matter. So, this is Chandra Nadi, Ida, on the left side. On the right side is Surya Nadi. Surya Nadi is Yamuna, this is Ganga, and Sushumna is Saraswati. So all the three will merge, and that is called Prayagraj, Allahabad earlier. In the external world, when there is Surya Grahan or Chandra Grahan, then there is darkness. Temporarily. When it happens inside, Chandra Nadi and Surya Nadi and Sushumna mixing together, that is also called Amavasya. But that Amavasya stops your perception of the outer world. It does not stop your perception of the formless one. And that is equivalent to Samadhi or Paravastha. I think we have read all this yesterday, but doesn't matter. प्राणापान की गति का रोध होने पर कुंडलिनी प्रकृति रूप चित्त शक्ति का स्फुरण होता है, तभी इसे दुर्गा शक्ति में लिखा. I think I have read it, doesn't matter. त्वं वैष्णवी शक्ति रणंत वीर्या विश्वस्य बीजं परमासि माया सम्मोहितं देवी समस्तमेतत् त्वं वै प्रसन्ना भुवि मुक्ति हेतु. O Ma, you are the Akshay Parakram Shila Vishnu Parashakti. I think we read this yesterday. Runadi, what do you say? No, we didn't? Okay. Maybe I read it in the Hindi class. See, you are Akshay, undepleted, undepletable. Parakram Shila, infinite strength. Vishnu's Parama Shakti, Vishnu's own power. You are the seed of the world. You are also called Mahamaya. You are the one who hypnotizes the entire world and make them dance like puppets on the string. Only when you are pleased, then you are Varada. Varada means who gives blessings, who gives boons. And then only somebody can achieve salvation from this world. And the Devatas are singing, this is from the Chandi. Both these passages are from the Chandi. It says, Pranatanam prasida tvam devi vishwarthi harini trailokyavasina midaye lokanam varada bhava. At the end of Mahishasur, in chapter 3, if I remember correctly, all the devatas assemble, shower petals of flowers on her and do her puja, apply chandan, garland her, then do arati, etc. and sing praises of her. Chapter 4, a very beautiful way it can be sung. I think I have sung it last time. And then Ma says, I'm very pleased with you guys. Now you want something more from me? Ask for it. Ask for a boon. So they say, Pranatanam prasida tvam devi vishwatriharni. Those who are seeking your shelter, those who are pranat. Pranat means prakishta rupe nath, submissive. O Mother, be pleased with them, with such people. Those who bow to your feet, your lotus feet, which are worshipped by the three worlds, heavens, earth and even patal. Unko vardhan dev ke, you fulfill their desire. The entire creation exists and functions because of one Shakti, and that is Pran Shakti. This is the one that holds up the world. So it is Jagat Dhatri. Dhatri is the one that upholds. So Jagat Dhatri, excuse me, Jagat Dhatri Puja is therefore the puja of Prana. So Kriya Yoga. The moment your Pran is, chanchal and starts looking outwards, your man takes you away and you look at the world. Then you, Mother, becomes Mahamaya. She is the hypnotizer, the enticer who takes you away from your goal. And the same creature, prani, jeev, person, when he doesn't know where to go, he doesn't know whose shelter to seek. When he comes to you and bows his head on your feet, then you, being pleased, give him this boon of Uddhar, salvation. Ma has three feet. Ida, Pingla, Prana Rupi, Ida and Pingla. And the third is Sushumna, which is connected to the dot. So the dot is the visible third feet of Ma. There's a very interesting story about this. Have you heard of the Vaman avatar? I'm sure you have. The Vaman avatar, the entire story depends on these 3 feet. How? Raja Bali was the grandson of Prahlad, who himself was the son of Hiranyakashipu. So when Prahlad had a son called Virochan, and Virochan's son was Bali. When Bali came to the throne, he was, of course, he took it from his father's and grandfather's genes, and he was a bhakt. So he used to have a donation camp, just like Karn did in the Mahabharata. At a particular fixed time, he would offer anything to anybody who wanted it. Sona, Chandi, Paisa, whatever. So there was a queue in front of Bali. And being a demon, Rakshas, Asur, his guru was Shukracharya. Shukracharya is the guru of the Asurs. Bhagavan took the Vaman avatar. Vaman was a short-statured person. He had a mat umbrella and a kamandalu and a mala and stuff like that, and he had just a loin cloth, and he came to this line. So he stood in the line and he said, when his turn came, Bali asked him, what do you want? He said, just I need 3 steps of land. What do you mean? As much land as I can measure in my 3 treads. Bali started laughing and said, what foolishness are you? You are yourself so short-statured and you want just this much land. What will you do with this? I will offer you diamonds, gold, whatever you want. He said, no, that's all I want. So Shukracharya then went deep into meditation and realized this was Vishnu. And he told Bali as much. Don't be fooled, he's Vishnu, he's aiming at your destruction. Bali said, no, but I have resolved to give it to him, whatever he wants. So Bali lifted a tea kettle type of vessel where Gangajal was there and took some Gangajal in his finger, in his hand. Shukracharya was so adamant, he went and blocked the passage of the water. And while he was doing it, Bali used a piece of grass to poke that to clear the passage, and thereby Shukracharya lost one eye. He's one-eyed. And Bali did not stop. And he said, okay, start measuring and take it. And then the Lord started growing. There is a passage in the Hanuman Chalisa where it says, Ashta Siddhino Nidhike Data Aswaradeen Janaki Mata. Janaki Mata is Kulkundalini. Ashta Siddhi is where these are the names, Anima, Laghima, Mahimas, etc. Anima is getting very small, Laghima is getting very long, Mahima means very heavy, and so on. So the Lord used these Siddhis to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. His head touched the moon. He grew so tall. And he took one step and he measured the entire earth and the hell. He took the next step and he measured the entire heavens. And then this tall man whose head could not be seen from where Bali was, he said, where do I put my 3rd foot? And Bali, being the grandson of Prahlad, was a bhakt. So he laid down and he said, Lord, you put your 3rd foot on my head. Okay, this is a nice story. Improbable as it may sound. What does it mean? Ida and Pingla are the generators which generate the elusive world, the heavens, the earth and the hell. Okay? So he measured these two in 2 steps. And the third one I just told you is Sushumna, Bindu, which is coming up to here. So he used the third step to come to the Sushumna, and thereby he became the owner of everything that he saw, which he was to start with. But Bali always thought in his ahankar, in his ego, I am the king, I am the giver. The Vaman avatar took avatar to destroy this ego only. The Lord was very pleased with him and he said, what do you want? From me, what do you want? He said, I have a palace of 52 doors. 49 doors, I'm sorry. And I would love you to be the security in charge of all these 42 doors. So he put him in security duty. The Lord said, Tathastu. And he did it. Lakshmi ji got a little worried. Where's my husband? So she came looking for him. And she saw he was doing security duty. So she asked Bali, what do you want from me so that you will free my husband of this vow? So he said, whatever you desire, mother, whatever you say is yours. So she tied Rakhi on his hand and made him his brother, made him her brother. And that is where all the Brahmins use this mantra, Yena Baddho Bali Raja. I bind Bali Raja with this thread. And that is how Raksha Bandhan, see, I am getting goosebumps. So this is how the Raksha Bandhan started. So here we are talking of all the 3 legs, Ida, Pingla and Sushumna. The other 2 are removed from the scene when you block your breathing cycle, external breathing cycle. See, this may not sound very important, but to me, this is the core of Kriya Yoga. These are the concepts which you need to clearly understand to be able to understand what you're doing and why you're doing whatever you're doing. That is why this is very important. I have probably read this by now at least 5 times. I read it on Friday, I read it on Saturday, I read it on Monday and today, and in English class and in Hindi class as well. So, those who do not submit and bow down to the Guru is God also, they can't see or perceive of the third foot, the Bindu or the Sushumna. Pranayam itself, gets your head a little lowered like that, as if you are bowing. It's called Pranat, automatic. This is also called Shambhavi Mudra. I'll explain. This you can understand only from the mouth of the Guru. Nobody else can explain it, nobody else should explain it. Those who are able to perceive this third leg, his pran goes through the Sushumna and reaches the 1,000 petal lotus and becomes one with Shiv. And a sadhak and the Guru are both at different times addressed as Shiv. Why? Because then you realize that you are him. That realization is not just vocal, spoken and heard. No. You actually perceive that. Okay? So that is why Guru Rupe Shiva, Shiva Rupe Guru. Guru is Shiv, Shiv is Guru. They are the same. When they are in that situation, as a Shiv, Shamba, what did I say? I forget the word. It's Shambhavi Mudra. That is, your head is bent slightly and your eyes and all are focused up there. A lot of things are there I can't disclose. That Shambhavi Mudra, bows your head down. There is a huge tan, a pull inside his Merudand, his spine. His body, pran, man, all become completely still. All his lust, desires, wants, ichhas evaporate. He achieves the ultimate state of salvation. There is nothing more that he desires or could want. This endless ocean of stillness completely submerges his life, death, and all these events which he has gone through multiple times before this. There is no outside, there is no inside for him. I am translating from this, so obviously the exact translation is a little tough. All becomes one, all becomes God. This is Gyan, and this is the basis of complete Nivritti. Now, who is Nivritti? Nivritti is, in Krishna's time, Subhadra. She becomes Arjun's wife. Why? Because he was a practicing sadhak. Other than being a warrior is also a sadhak because he is fighting his old tendencies. So many times Bhagavan has said this in the Gita also. Tasmat uttishta yasho lavashva bhungshva samriddha raja nimitmatra bhava sabya sachin. Sabya sachin is a very common Bengali name. Sabya sachin means two things. Sabya sachin means he who can shoot arrows from the front of the body and from the back of the body. It also means he who is deft in doing kriya, because to do kriya you have to go to the back of your body. Pran, as we know very well, has two aspects. One is chanchal, one is sthir. We all know the chanchal bhav, where everything is, huff and puff. But the still roop or still, I don't know what the bhav, is not easily perceivable. To know this, you have to use your chanchal bhav, which means external breathing, to reach the sthir bhav, which is sushumna. You cannot directly go to the sushumna. You cannot. You need to use this external breathing, control the pran, and with the long practice, long duration, many years, often you reach the position where the pran is still. Even Arjun used the words chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavad dridam. My man is so chanchal, it's so, wavering, vibrating, I don't know what word to use, that I'm not able to do anything. What do I do? So the Lord told him, Abhyasena tu kaunteya chitra mitra vidhiyate. You have to start practicing. There is no other option. There is no shortcut. Start practicing. The sooner you start, the better it is. When you reach the still prana, which is in the Sushumna, then Onkar Dhwani starts. You can hear it. Anahat Dhwani. This is Hat, this is Anahat. Without any impact on anything. No two things colliding. That is Anahat. This is an automatic vibration in the nerve, auditory nerve, which only you will be able to hear it when it starts inside you. And when you concentrate on that Pranab Dhwani, slowly you will enter this Kutastha and stay there in great concentration and for a long duration. With a lot of practice, a stage may come where you will be one with the Lord, that is Paravastha. When you reach Paravastha, then you can claim, So Aham Brahma. So Aham Brahma. That Brahma is me, I am him. He is me, I am him. This is an experience that you will have to get to with a lot of practice. The ultimate stage of knowledge is when you reach this stage and thereby know yourself. This is the end of your journey. This is the destination for which you have been striving. Shlok number 30 and 31 have been put in together. Let us read that every time. Yeah. Sarve apyete yagyavido yagya chaita kalmasha yagya shishtamrita bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam nayam loko asatyas yagyasya kutonya kurusattama. All these Yagyaveta, Yagyakarigan, all of them who have been able to get rid of the Kalush. Kalush is attraction to the world and its pleasures. If you remember correctly, I have always said Lahiri Mahasay's definition of Punya is to look at Brahma, look for Brahma. And Paap or sin is to look at the world. So this is Kalush is from looking at the world, seeking the world, desiring the world, etc. So those who have practiced all these various kinds of yags, what is the various kinds? We have read so many. One is Dravyagya, where you use some material, whether it is a leaf or money or clothes or sweets, etc., and offer it to the deity. That is Dravyagya. The next one is Tapoyagya, where you sit in the Kutastha and watch him. The third is Swadhyayagya, where you read the Ved, the Puran, Upanishad, etc., and reach the same level of Gyan. And the fourth is where you stop your external breathing and merge your Pran and Apan into the Kundalini. That is the ultimate. That comes only with Pranayam. So he says here, such people eat what is left of the yajna, consume. I'll explain that. However, those who do not do any of these kinds of yajna, even the tiny amount of bliss or peace or shanti that is available in this world now will elude him. What to talk of moksha and the other world, where it's an ocean of peace, that will also elude them. When this tiny amount of peace cannot be achieved by him, how can he even think about that world? There is no possibility. Now, what is this Yagya Vishisht? Larimash's wordings are unique, as I have told you. Kriya karne ke paschat Amrit Brahma mein jata hai. When you do Kriya, you reach Paravastha or Samadhi and you are one with Brahma, who is like Amrit. Amrit is the nectar. Amrit is also literally meaning never die. Mrit is death. Amrit, never die. Never die. Okay. अर्थात क्रिया की परावस्था, you said it. विहित कर्म ज्ञान और उपासना सभी यज्ञ शब्दवाचक है. I just said विहित शब्द means prescribed yajnas, prescribed processes of achieving jnana are upasana and yajna, etc. Those who know and practice all these processes, they become nishpap, free of sin. Not looking at the world. I just said looking at the world is sin. एंड यज्ञ का अवशेष अमृत भोजन करके सनातन ब्रह्म को प्राप्त होते हैं. यज्ञ का अवशेष. व्हाट इज यज्ञ का अवशेष? लेट मी एक्सप्लेन दैट टू यू. इट्स वेरी नाइस and happens only occasionally to people like me who are a little worldly. What is it? Yajna is Kriya. Whatever Kriya you have reached, whatever Kriya has been given, and there are many stages. In the first stages, there are so many, then in the second stage, there are so many, then the third stage, there are so many. I am not at liberty to explain those things on a public platform. But, however many you have been given, when you have completed your full set and you stop in a process where there is no thought, that is, you have to practice that as well. Thoughtless condition it is called. In Hindi it is called niravalamban. Avalamban means embrace, holding on to something. Nir means not holding on to anything. That is called the thoughtless condition. Because remember, there is nothing but God. So whatever you think you are holding on to, maybe your wife, thoughts of your wife, your children, your food, your wealth, your factory, etc., etc., is non-existent. And if you hold on to any of those, then you are already going back from whatever effort you have spent. You are wasting it. So Yagya Avashisht is a stage where you actually achieve the condition of thoughtlessness. It is called Niravalam. Avalam means embrace, as I told you. This sometimes, when you have had a good day and you have done your practice well, might last for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Very rarely it lasts for more than 15 minutes, at least for me. I find it the most difficult thing to do because my mind is always working. Now what? Now what? Now what? So, Yagya Avashisht is the remainder of the Yagya, and this is the remainder of the Yagya, thoughtless condition. What does it say? When you reach that stage, that is a small trailer of the large movie which is Paravastha. Paravastha is Samadhi. Small trailer is glimpses of Samadhi. Important scenes from Samadhi. So that Yagya Avashisht Bhojan is Nesha in Bengali. In English, it is a intoxication caused by your meditation. Hopefully, if you are able to, increase the duration of that intoxication, you are already in Paravastha. It doesn't happen though, but one should always try. What is this Paravastha? What is this Nasha? I have felt it sometimes in Mandar. All Kriyavans feel it. What really happens is, when you finish your quota, your numbers, whatever you have in mind, and now you're finished. You have stopped your practicing. So you now concentrate on being thoughtless condition. You go deep into a type of meditation trance. This trance, if it persists, it is like, you don't want to open your eyes, you don't want to talk, you don't want to think about anything. If there is an external sound, you don't perceive it, stuff like that. This is called Yagya Avashishta Bhojan. It is also elsewhere in the Gita, only Sanyal Mahasaya has called it Dakshina. You give that Dakshina to your Brahman also, yourself. So he says, Parabrahma, the formless one, is the fire of your yagya. प्राण उसका स्तोत्र है. स्तोत्र is hymn. Apan is the mantra. Ahankar, man and buddhi. Ego, man and brains. I have to have a little bit of myself. Otherwise, what do I do? Who is doing it? In Paravastha, there is no doer. There is nothing to be done. There is nothing. That is not the condition here. You are doing this yoga. You are doing pranayam. At this point of time, your ego, because unless a little bit of ego is always required, I will do this sadhana. Who will say this? If you are in Paravastha, I is gone. मन और बुद्धि उसके होता है. They are the ones who are offering this pran to that havan, that agni, that yagya karma. ऊर्ध्ववायु उद्गाता है और सब कुछ त्याग करना उसकी दक्षिणा है. सब कुछ त्याग करना है. State of thoughtlessness is the dakshina. Runadi, your time is up, 8 o'clock. We stop now. We will go to 32 tomorrow. I didn't realize yesterday we had crossed 8 o'clock by about 10-15 minutes, so I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
No,
why? Because I have at the back of the door everybody waiting for me.
Acha. Okay. No, I realized there was some such problem. I thought some people were waiting for dinner, your family maybe, they were waiting for dinner. So you had to leave.
Absolutely true.
Okay. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Ram Narayana Vasudeva Shri Guru Chaitanya He Atmadeva He Mat Durge Har Vishwanatha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinam Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavit Asato Ma Sadagamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Mamritam Gamaya आविराभि महीधि. बोलिए प्रेम से गुरु महाराज की जय. परम गुरुदेव की जय. परात्पर गुरुदेव की जय. परमेष्टि गुरुदेव की जय. आदि गुरुदेव की जय. गुरु माता की जय. हर हर महादेव. Jai Guru. Good night, everybody.